I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on the season premiere of Almanac North.
Duluth Mayor Emily Larson is here to talk about her plan to eliminate the city's street maintenance fee and roll it into city property tax bills.
While the St. Louis County Board is preparing to vote on the county's 2017 levy, with increased caseloads in the Health and Human Services Division weighing heavily on commissioners.
And we'll welcome back an old friend to the studio with his tales from the early days of Almanac North.
So all this and more up next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome again to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. And Julie, believe it or not, tonight marks the very first show of our 25th season on the air.
25 years. I've been here 23 of them.
I've been here 5.
It doesn't seem like it possibly can be 5 years
It
since
has
you got
been,
here.
yes.
I think time moves faster the older you get.
I
right?
think so too. Okay. Well, we'll have more on that anniversary later, but first let's introduce our first guest.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Duluth Mayor Emily Larson presented her proposed 2017 budget to city councilors last night, calling for a significant change in the light of budget uncertainty. Specifically, the mayor asked councilors to eliminate a street maintenance fee and proposed instead to fix the streets through an increase in property taxes. Here with more on the first city budget proposal of her term is Emily Larson, the mayor of Duluth. And thanks for being here.
Thank you, and happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Really
much.
exciting.
Good
Yes,
to have you here
yes,
on
thank
the
you.
first show of our 25th
Thank
season.
you.
Now, I've read you describe this budget as Minnesota plaid and not very exciting or flashy, and so that makes me a little bit nervous as we sit down to talk about it for 10 minutes.
It's so exciting.
Make it exciting for us, Mayor.
Once you get into it. Well, I did want to preface it. You know, sometimes people want to make a big splash with their budget in terms of this new program, this new initiative. And for me, this first budget is really about setting a tone of stable, reliable funding for streets. It's about recognizing that our role as a city is really focused on core services and to really ensure to the community that the concerns I've heard from you, which is focus on those core services, focus on streets, do that in a reliable, stable way is exactly what I was able to deliver.
Now, the big issue, of course, street maintenance is going off the fee system, which we've been getting on our water bills, and going now to a property tax.
Everyone's really going to miss that street fee.
Oh, I'm sure.
They love it so much. Yeah, so actually that is the biggest news of the budget is that we are changing the way we are paying for streets. So in the last 10 years, we've had 4 different methods of paying for streets, from bonding to CIP and casino revenue to fee, and now moving it into the property tax. And that's very intentional because as I looked at, shaping this first budget and how do I make a long-term and sustainable path for streets, there is no way to do that on a fee. A political fee that gets voted on every year, that goes up or down, that is at the end of the year could be taken away at the last minute and you have no street program. So that was really the main reason. But then there were a few other ones too. When we roll it into the property tax, it is more equitable, meaning that people will pay proportionately to their property tax. And most homeowners and commercial owners will either stay even or they will pay a few dollars less.
Will that garner more revenue?
It will be the exact same revenue. It is not a full-on solution for our street issue, but it is building reliability into the framework with which we pay for it. It's saying every year we're going to talk about and prioritize streets.
And dollar amount, how much?
$2.8 million.
$2.8 million.
Yes.
Have you heard any blowback at all from people on the fact that right now the fee is kind of spread over the course of a year and now they'll be asked to kind of pay for it in a chunk with their property taxes?
You know, I have not heard that. In fact, I think presenting the budget as we have in a very forthright fashion, because the remainder of the budget, outside of making that revenue neutral switch from fee to tax, our property tax increase for the city of Duluth is 1%, very, very low. So I think actually the very straightforward way we've been talking talking about it has really helped people to feel like, okay, I get it. It's very clear. I understand where these dollars are going, and I will see this tangible changeover and this tangible, very specific benefit.
So when people see that 14.9% increase in the budget, they shouldn't gasp because it's actually not more money than what you're getting.
No, and that is the thing about a fee and a tax, is that there is a lot of people do feel that taxes are more transparent because you are paying those dollars right now. You're paying it in two separate systems, but you are paying those very dollars. And so a tax we talk about for at least a couple of meetings at the City Council. We'll talk about our taxes until the end of the year. A fee you can kind of change and go up and down. And really for a short-term need, fees work very well. But for a long-term ongoing need, they're very, very difficult to plan around.
After street repair, your next biggest issue.
Oh man, well there's so many, but the other ones that we prioritize, our budget is $82 million, half of it is public safety. We are a people-centered organization, 82% of our budget. Police,
libraries.
And fire, yes, and then libraries, and we start kind of moving out.
Sure.
But certainly the areas where I've been spending my time this year is, hiring the new human rights officer. We'll be looking at our business subsidy policy. We'll be looking at our housing needs. So we kind of branch out from there, but this budget is really, it is Minnesota plaid and plain. But it is very forthright, and I'm very proud of it. It was a lot of work for us to get to those numbers and to make this work in a way that I think is really fair and responsible to our residents.
The breakdowns in the legislative session, did they impact how you approach budgeting this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just actually talking with Commissioner Nelson before this started. It's really, really hard to it's very hard. We rely on our state and federal partners so much, and they have provided some road assistance. Only 1% of our roads. We have 424 miles of roads. State and federal dollars have helped us only with 1%. And this legislative session was very, very disappointing and kind of defeating. We spent so much time. Bonding bill, tax bill, transportation bill, nothing that came to fruition for us.
Mayor, did you go into office nearly a year ago now, coming up
I know,
closely?
goes fast.
Did you go into office with a 5-year plan for the city?
I did, and it got shaken up a little bit because I actually had built a 5-year transportation plan that would get us back to the levels that we need to be, and then we got the Supreme Court ruling from the state of Minnesota that ruled in on St. Paul's right-of-way street fee program, and that was also one of the reasons why we decided, we're getting rid of this fee. We're going to put it into our property tax. So it kind of pushes reset, and now we got to go back and reset that 5-year plan because we need it to keep moving forward.
Will you be pushing the state for a bonding bill? We didn't get it this year.
Absolutely, yes.
Did your time on the City Council influence how you approach the budgeting process?
It did. I'm so glad that I had that experience of being on it. I mean, it was really different to work on the budget this year from this position and this seat and having, much more daily contact with the impact of those decisions and taking them very personally around how we are making our staffing decisions. And I do and have always felt that budgets are a statement of your values. They tell the community, they tell the world who you are and what's important to you. But having that experience on the council of being able to kind of look at it from those vantage, it would have been very difficult to come into this budget absolutely cold.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that the budget is going to wind up as it's written, or is the council going to make some tweaks?
So the process now is it's public. Everything's on the website. We want people's public input. We will listen to it and adjust, but the council will vote. This is my proposal. I stand behind it. The council will vote on the 26th for the maximum levy. Then we'll spend the rest of the year tweaking our budget numbers and presenting the final budget in December.
All right, Mayor Larson, thank you so much for coming in and joining us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Busy night on the program tonight. Just like in the city of Duluth, it's budget setting time in the region's largest county. Next week, the St. Louis County Board is scheduled to vote on the county's maximum tax levy for 2017. The county has seen costs in the Health and Human Services Division rise without an increase in funding from the state. Now, with more children and families in poverty, the funding crisis is casting a heavy burden on county staff. Joining us with an update on the budget is Keith Nelson, St. Louis County Commissioner from Virginia, and Patrick Boyle is a county commissioner from the city of Duluth. And I want to thank you both for being here tonight. Commissioner, as chairman of the Finance Committee, it must have been terribly frustrating not to get the monies you actually needed from the state of Minnesota.
Denny, thank you for that question, and thank you for the opportunity to address our citizens. It is truly concerning. I've used this statement before. It's imagine getting to the dance and your partner doesn't show up. It gets a little lonely out on the floor. And that's truly what's happened with the state of Minnesota this year. With no resolution at the state legislature, county as an arm of the state government is truly left holding the bag, which is why you're seeing us proposing a levy that's going to be very near 8.5%, if not at 8.5%.
The mayor just said she's going to push again for a bonding measure. If you push, and I'm sure the county board will again, what do you need that money for immediately?
Well, the biggest issues are in some of the areas where the state has mandates, where the funding hasn't followed the mandate. And we really lean on, at least on our county board, we lean on Commissioner Boyle for the Health and Human Services side of things, because he truly is the expert on that end of it.
Mm-hmm. Let's bring you into the conversation, because that is one of the biggest parts of the county budget, and there has been an increase in costs and increase in caseloads. Talk about your concerns there.
Over this proposed budget increase, 75% of it is going to go into health and human services. Over the past 2 years, we've seen a 45% increase with neglect of children cases. It's a perfect storm that's going on right now in St. Louis County regarding the state putting more guidelines on our social workers. Number one, increase still of mental health that isn't taken care of. That we're working with our private and public sectors thoroughly on right now. And I think one of the biggest things that is not only a county, state, but a federal issue is the opiate and heroin addiction is running rampant.
Mm-hmm. Now, the county has already agreed to add some staffing to Health and Human Services. Is that going to be enough, do you think, to address some of the real challenges right now?
I think the staffing level that we have proposed going into 2017 is adequate, but again, our partners at both the state and federal level, what used to be a 2-page form that that one of our employees filled out for a client is now a 25-page form, and the level of assistance that we're receiving has gone down. So it is truly moving that burden onto the property tax system, which obviously is very regressive.
The healthcare costs also going up significantly in the county. The Affordable Care Act not delivering what it had promised, or how is that impacting what you do as a county in terms of healthcare?
I think that's it's twofold. I think one of the things we're looking at is just the amount of money we have set aside for medical cases. We had money put away up to $17 million just a few years ago for our employees and our retirees. That number has dwindled down now to just about $3 million, and we're really worried about that in the future.
Commissioner, is it this new budget then that will pay for 2 St. Louis County deputies that will be working in schools? And which schools and why?
The schools that we're going into are North Woods, South Ridge, the Cherry School System, and the Tower School.
I see.
And those school resource officers, and that's truly what they are, is resource officers. That program is not a new program. It's actually a renewal of a program that we lost grant funding for. But Sheriff Lippman felt it was valuable enough to bring it back. Obviously, the county school board, the independent school district that is the St. Louis County Schools,
right.
Their school board voted 6-1 to request it from us. It's a pilot program for another 2 years using innovative funds within St. Louis County. These are not direct county levy impact funds.
I see.
Okay, so, but we felt that investment was due. And of course, Commissioner Boyle and I were very supportive of that measure.
It's our hope that this might be another tool for our social workers to use with kids that might want to build a relationship with the community officer in the school setting and have some trust, and if they're having a hard time at home or there's issues, that this community officer can help, much like they do in the Duluth public school systems, Hermantown, Proctor.
Any good news as you look at the budgeting process in terms of the funds that are available because of the tax base going up, things like that?
St. Louis County is truly one of the most well-managed counties in the state of Minnesota. Of the 87 counties, I will literally put us in the top 5 year in and year out. And yes, there is some really good news. We've seen about 7% growth in the actual taxable parcels in St. Louis County. So we're in a period of some pretty good growth out there, new construction, new buildings. So with that 7%, even with the proposed 8 or 8.5, we're still only going to see about a 1%, 1.5% increase in taxes countywide. So that's the good news piece of this. And obviously we're going to be working on this number going all the way up into December, hopefully trying to bring it down some. But I will tell you that we've worked pretty hard on it up to this point, and we typically do not go down from our preliminary levy. That's just St. Louis County's history.
Here's a question for both of you. What specifically will this new budget mean for Upper St. Louis County, your area on the Iron Range, that you absolutely must have paid for now?
Well, the problems are the same both north and south. Where Commissioner Boyle talked of the opioid addiction, out-of-home placements, in Virginia, the area that I represent, we are a microcosm of Duluth. So the problem truly is the same problem, both north and south, and it's trying to get ahead of that curve. And I have to tell you that with 800 children in out-of-home placement, that truly is a troubling number.
Okay.
I think it's one point that I want to bring up too is that 40% or 40 out of the 50 states take and put in all the money into out-of-home placement. We're 49th out of 50 states as far as the state putting in their fair share. So we do it all on property taxes. Over 10% of the entire property tax base goes to out-of-home placement and foster care.
Commissioner Pat Boyle, Commissioner Keith Nelson, thank you both very much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Happy
it.
25th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
Construction is now underway as ground has been broken for the Fond du Lac Entertainment Center. This model of the finished project is just a small picture of the grand $13 million plan.
We don't know where this will stop, we just know where it starts.
It starts with a casino as its focal point and includes a restaurant, gas station, and convenience store in just Phase 1, which will open this time next year. Phase 2 includes a hotel and arts and crafts center to open in late 1993. Although this appears to be more than enough to keep people busy, the strategy is to do much more.
The people that are going to be coming here are going to want to experience other alternatives in the area, such as eating and entertainment and all that sort of thing. So even though we're going to be the focal point, it's certainly going to spread throughout this community.
And the community certainly turned out today despite sweltering heat. As Chairman Sonny Peacock told the crowd, if we're going to sweat, we might as well earn it. And they did, as everyone joined the Little Otter Singers in a celebration dance.
Well, as we mentioned at the top of the show, tonight marks the beginning of Almanac North's 25th season on the air. Our first show was broadcast in September of 1992, and since then we've done an average of 46 shows a year, over 1,100 in the past 24 years. And our next guest was here at the very beginning as co-host of the first 300 shows, give or take a few. Joining us now is my old friend, Jack Setterlund, one of the original Almanac North hosts. And welcome back, Jack.
Thanks, Julie and Denny.
Great
nice
to have you
be
here.
Great to be
It
here.
feels good. I think right now is the time where the two of you arm wrestle to decide who gets to stay.
Yeah, like I said, I brought my duct tape and I'll move them into the other room.
I'm all done.
Staging a coup. Now, Jack, looking back, you were a successful lawyer in town, were not involved in television news at all. What made you decide that this might be a fun thing for you to do?
Well, it's interesting, Julie, because I got a call from, I'd done some theater, and I got a call from a woman who was a director in a show I'd been, and she said, gee, they're doing this new show up at Channel 8, and it might be something you might have some fun doing, and you're used to doing live stage, and this is live television, and her husband, Mark, worked up here, so I came up, and I guess that was that.
So did you have to audition?
Yeah, I did.
Auditioned.
Yeah. See, they knew what they were dealing with you. They hired you on the spot.
Yeah.
I had to audition. Yeah.
What do you remember about that audition? Were you nervous?
Not really, and I can't remember much about it, but it was just going through some questions, and I think there might have been a fake guest, and we just
So is there a favorite guest or a guest that really kind of sticks in the mind?
Denny, it's funny. There's a lot of them, and I think from two areas. From the political standpoint, it was always a lot of fun to have Paul Wellstone on.
Okay.
Because as we were talking before, man,
He was a live wire.
He was just set to go.
Yes.
And then the other piece of it were the non-political types, and I remember a guy who was at the Air Guards, and he ended up, there was a malfunction, and he had to eject and crash his plane. Mm-hmm. And he came on the show and talked about pulling that donut and ejecting, and it was one of those things about really seeing what a lot of these folks go through. So, there's just a wide variety, and it's all been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that you had been involved in some theater, and you also were an actor with Iron Will. And so I think that you may have been the only person who's done a remote live shot on Almanac North, if I'm not mistaken,
right.
Because when the premiere was held here in Duluth, you abandoned me, left me here in the studio all by myself. I was about 12 years old. And there I was,
now, 12 years old.
12 years old.
My gosh.
I had to introduce you, and I think I still have that suit. But what was that like? Kind of going back after you had filmed that movie, and then to interview the people that were involved when it came out.
There you are, Jack.
Yeah, it was just a great crew of people to work with, and Charlie Hayden and Kevin Spacey, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And to go back and have them relive it, and they really enjoyed the support of the community, both Duluth, Superior, and Two Harbors, and Cloquet, and it was just lots and lots of fun. So to go back and connect with them was a real fun time.
And you did a really nice job. We have a clip of your live shot
no.
from the Wayback Machine.
We're here up at the Lakes 8 Theater, and we're waiting for the stars to show up. The mayor's walked in, a lot of other people are around here, everyone's excited. They can't wait to see the film. And so, Julie, until those folks get here, we'll just let the excitement happen, and we'll go back to you, but hang on and wait for us.
Look at you, you haven't changed a bit.
Yeah, look at me, it's right. Yeah, talk about changing a bit. I remember having Patrick Boyle's dad on the show a lot, Frank, and when I saw Patrick, I thought, oh boy, time has passed.
Well, actually, because Patrick used to come with his dad occasionally and be a part of our studio audience.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
So what was it like in the earlier days of this program, Almanac North? Did you have a pretty good variety of guests in those days?
Yeah, we did.
Was there a lot going on around here?
Yeah, and there's always a lot going on.
There is.
And Greg Grell, the producer, does a great job of working on it all week, getting people lined up. And one of the things I noticed right away coming in here, of course, I've been watching the show, but the set's changed. And cameraman Joe, who's been here a long time, said, hey, Jack, look at these cameras. I mean, we had these big behemoths, and now they're so so small and compact. Hey, technology, I guess.
Technology
Yeah,
changes, huh?
It sure does.
And of course, cameraman Joe is Joe Mann. He's been here almost as long as the rest
Yep.
of us have. But Jack, thank you so
Can't
much
thank
for
you enough.
coming in
Thanks, Jack.
You
and
bet.
being part of the legacy of Almanac North.
My
we
pleasure.
really
It's
appreciate
been a
it.
lot of fun. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
All right. Time now for the business headlines from our friends at Business North. A severe storm Wednesday night caused significant damage to Minnesota Power's nearly completed solar array at Camp Ripley near Little Falls. About 25% of the 97 rows of solar panels suffered damage from a large storage container and other debris blown by high winds. When rebuilt, the $25 million project will generate 10 megawatts of solar electricity to power 1,700 homes per year. It will be the largest solar power plant on any National Guard base in the nation, covering an area the size of about 62 football fields.
Enbridge Energy Partners is suspending its $900 million Sandpiper project indefinitely, pleasing environmentalists but frustrating organized labor. Calling the decision devastating, Craig Olson, president of the Duluth Building and Construction Trades Council, said work will be lost for about 3,000 skilled employees in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Enbridge reviewed the project and concluded it needs to be tabled until crude oil production in North Dakota rebounds. That could take at least 5 years, according to oil company officials.
Overall enrollment at the University of Wisconsin-Superior has increased 3% this fall, and the campus has reached its largest ever international enrollment. Freshman enrollment rose for the second consecutive year, up 5% from 1 year ago and more than 20% over the past 2 years. UW-Superior will host nearly 225 international students, a sizable portion of them who came as transfer students. They are natives of 14 different countries. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
So if you have a comment on our program, call now. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send us an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org. And be sure to visit the WDSE website for program updates, information about upcoming station events, and news about your public TV station. And Julie, I already feel at home on the new set. I hope our viewers like it.
I hope our viewers do too. And look what the mayor left for
I
us.
noticed that.
A little something to toast the
There we go.
25th anniversary. Appreciate it.
Very nice
Very
of the
nice.
mayor. Thank you. So for Julie and the crew at Almanac North, I'm Dennis Anderson. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody. Good night and be kind.